The title of the discussion is The Future of NFT Art is Female. And we have two experts that are ready to discuss this topic with you all. And allow me to introduce Alfredo and India. Please give them a nice, warm round of applause.
Well, thank you all actually for being here.
Thank you. Very nice to be here today. We're very excited to be talking today about the future of NFT art is female, something which I hope we all strive to achieve. So my name is India. I'm the sales and artist liaison at a commercial art gallery in London called QEii Art House. My specific roles within QEii mainly surround curating the digital programming of the space, so that includes the QEii project space, managing the digital artist residency, and also organizing our NFT drop program. So it's a small faction within our gallery. And today I am joined by curator Alfredo Cramerotti, who together with Auronda founded a platform titled XX NFT. And we're going to be discussing the future of women a little bit more generally within the NFT space, as well as the artists in the NFT space. And as we discuss this topic, I would also like to preface that the gender inequality in the space hardly really scrapes the larger scopes of global and racial inequality in the NFT space, which could have a whole other topic in itself. But today we'll be specifically discussing those who identify as women within the NFT space. So, Alfredo,
Thank you,
would you like to introduce?
Yes, I introduce myself. My name is Alfredo Cramerotti. I'm a curator. In this specific context, actually, I'm here because with Auronda, Scalera, and actually 4 other female members, we founded XX NFT, which is a curatorial and promotional platform to promote and publish and nurture and cultivate and make it sustainable the work of women, female identifying and non-binary artists working with NFT and technology and the blockchain technology specifically. I have to say, maybe as a background, I come from the traditional art world and Auronda as well, actually. So we're both curators in the physical terms. So I run a contemporary art museum in the UK, Mostyn, which is based in North Wales, and I also have an independent curatorial practice. And together, actually, we started to work in the digital sphere about I worked in the digital space before and Auronda as well because she also studied digital art, but specifically with the NFT and the blockchain technology we started about 2 years ago, and for a number of reasons actually. And we realized actually that working and researching and talking with artists and other curators and platform institutions, there was a bit of a history repeating in terms of the visibility of women artists. When I say women, I also include actually any female identified person. I mean, either by birth or by choice. I mean, we don't really actually differentiate in that sense. And there was actually the market. It was like, you probably have some stats as well, actually, and that you will dig into later on. But it was overwhelmingly actually male and overwhelmingly white as well, at least 2 years ago. Probably now it's changed a little bit, but not so much. And we said, okay, that's interesting because, we see the history repeating when in the 50s, 60s, 70 years ago, there was incredible women artists working actually in a lot of movement in contemporary art, and then now rediscovered now. And I can tell this because I run a public art institution. So, it's basically since 5, 6, 10 years tops, actually, we have this kind of a reevaluation, a rediscovery of female artists that they've always been there, but actually nobody gave attention actually to the work they were doing for a number of reasons. And I said, okay, we don't really want to find ourselves 50 years down the line chasing the same thing. Actually, we want really to do something now and concretely, and not just in theory. That's where I come from.
Incredible. And yeah, you're absolutely right in terms of the statistics that I think a lot of us have kind of been haunted by. I was commissioned to write an article about women in Web3 back in April, and I was reviewing the statistics I kind of pulled from 2021, and I'm not sure if this kind of 16% of the NFT market was women in 2021's Art Tactic report was quite kind of terrifying. And I also was researching the kind of financial and tech space generally, in that while cryptocurrency draws younger people in and those from a global background, women only make up around a fifth of the US investors in crypto. And the tech industry is not the only industry at fault here. Where Alfredo and I come from, the kind of traditional art background, I studied history of art. The majority of my department at university was female, and you'll find a lot of women also in creative courses as well. And yet, an analysis was done of 18 major US art museums and found that their collections are 87% male and 85% white. So there is a kind of general broad movement happening to both within the NFT space and the traditional art market to change these kind of terrifying statistics. Now, Alfredo, I want to talk about XX NFT and your first project that just launched in Venice this week.
Not in Venice.
Not in Venice. Not in the Biennale? No.
No, actually, the thing is, we launched actually this XX NFT. We started to basically reach out to about 100 female artists working with NFT and crypto arts, and basically interviewing them. Setting a set of questions, and India here, actually, you're associate editor of this publishing sort of initiative. And because we wanted actually to promote and highlight the work, and now actually we have a number of them actually ready and published on the website. But actually, when we were actually doing this one, we said, okay, we really actually need to actually also having some sort of a concrete impact on their career. So we've been invited by the Central Arts Pavilion, which also organized the Venice Biennial, first ever NFT pavilion. We've been invited to organize an exhibition for the inaugural exhibition for the super rare space. And so we were actually, okay, this is really good. And so we organized an exhibition called Mavericks, Warriors, Fighters, and Badass Goddesses of the Verse, which actually launched the XX NFT. It launched yesterday. And is a drop, actually, that it goes on until the 5th of November. There are 10 female artists, and that's actually the first ever exhibition of FF NFT, because I think is an important element for us to nurture the career, to promote the career, to make it them visible, but also actually to provide opportunities for career development and for career sustainability. And as a curator, I think I feel a duty to that. So that's actually what is happening right now online. So do check it out. Actually, it's on Super Rare Space at the Central Art Pavilion space. And what we did actually, it just gave us an idea how to progress with the platform. So with you and Auronda and Jumana Al-Darwish and Nadia, we will do more interviews. We will continue to actually progress this important work of research or studying or promotion or actually, creating its own community in a way. But also to provide these exhibition opportunities for the artists, which are curated exhibitions. They're all around a certain themes. So we put our kind of expertise as a curator, as an arts organizer, art makers in the sense of providing the opportunities for other people to actually make art. Because we think actually that in a concrete way is a better way to going forward.
Absolutely. I can also very much relate to that approach where the most important part is the initial onboarding process of getting the artist introduced to your program and kind of getting their exposure out there. Within the art gallery, Gazzelli Art House, where I work, as well as with XX NFT, we have our online residency called Scalera Residency, and it's monthly, so we have 12 artists that we program a year. And after 2021, I was overlooking kind of our general scope of all these artists we'd worked with for the past 6 years. So we now have about 80 previous artists in residence who we've worked with. And it's very much a kind of entry point to getting involved with the gallery. And it was then that we decided, after kind of looking at the amount of women versus men, that we should specifically be selecting female digital artists for the next few years, especially following the kind of inequality in the NFT space. And that's been really exciting. And another kind of factor of the gallery that we've been really well branded for is also, outside of the digital program, highlighting overlooked female abstract expressionist artists. So we're already trying to kind of reintegrate the lost history of a lot of women artists into the program, and that's now infiltrating into our digital contemporary program, which is really exciting to see. So as these museums are diversifying their collections, it's also having a complete kind of effect on the contemporary gallery space as well. And yeah, Alfredo, I would like to ask you what kind of recent projects, perhaps within the XX NFT drop, that you've really stuck out to you?
That's putting me on the spot here. Within the XX NFT, I think I can mention Katie McIntyre, for instance. I think there is one slide actually going on at the moment. Is one of those slides actually, because Katie, she took a very interesting approach in her work, because she basically, she's an artist and designer, and she worked with NFT, and her practice is about kind of designing environments which are actually starting from the female body specifically. And a very, very banal example, but it's really, really effective, is, for instance, the automotive example, cars. Cars historically has been actually designed by men, for men. And the whole actually history of car design is actually centered on that still. And so she, you know, if you go and check it out, you can see actually her design. Actually, they're very anthropomorphic design, because she starts actually from looking at her body physically, and then actually starting from there to design whatever environment she designed. And it could be a car, it could be a bed, it could be a house, it could be whatever actual environment she puts her attention on. And I think just this element of kind of switching the perspective is super important, which is, as a curator, I think I'm allowed to say what really artists are doing. They're basically taking something and they just shift the perspective on that something. And that's why we need art, actually, because otherwise we will go with blinders. And so, for instance, that's one example that it just popped to my mind. Another example was actually Genesis Kai as well. She just minted actually her first NFT for this exhibition on the Central Art Pavilion and for Super Rare Spaces, and is based basically on a physical sort of three-dimensional robotic art piece, and is basically a figure which has a digital presence. The spokesperson we are dealing with is not the artist herself. The artist is this creature that is basically nurtured and grown, a bit like a child in a way, and the whole actual environment that this entity is growing, is making art, is making his presence, her presence or their presence in kind of visible in the digital sphere, is a combination between spirituality, technology, and art. So this whole holistic way to work, which is kind of a very different from the idea of, you know, kind of working in a studio, for instance, if you are an artist or a designer. And that's the two actually that it just popped to my mind, but actually all of them are quite amazing anyway, so it's just...
Absolutely. And I'm curious, Alfredo, as you both work within a larger institution, a large contemporary art gallery, as well as have founded your own project with XXNFT. How are you bringing your kind of independent curation and this focus on women into the institutional space and trying to kind of go through the larger museum structure and really kind of make that impact to for the general public?
Yeah, it's, I have, kind of counting my blessing, my board of directors, of trustee of Mostin is a public art museum, a contemporary art, by the way. It's not a private, it's actually a publicly funded museum from the Arts Council of Wales, and always had the opportunity to develop a parallel sort of a curatorial practice, thanks to my board that let me do it, because I can bring inputs, kind of experimenting and piloting with project and with way of working that otherwise it would be actually too long-term to produce within the institution. Then I can write them down and then bring it in, and at the same time, when the artists are in the institution, I can actually multiply their exposure when I do something else outside the institution. And in terms of women artists, for instance, we have actually Nye Thompson, who's now in residence in Mostin. Is a digital resident. It's our first digital residency, and we basically raise money to produce that work, and she's fantastic. But for us, it was important actually to say, okay, we specifically put a conscious decision to actually really make sure that we work with female artists and not just by chance. In a way, it's like, are we talking about quota here? Probably not specifically quota, but in a way, there is a very conscious decision not to actually sleep those actually discussion in the background because we are too busy otherwise. And that's something that, as a curator, maybe is a bit controversial. Maybe not all of people agree here. But I do think actually as a curator we have a duty to actually have it this sort of idea of gender balance and inclusion, diversity, accessibility, equity at the very forefront of whatever we are thinking to produce and thinking to program. And that goes from exhibition to education to outreach to digital commission, in my view.
Absolutely, and I've experienced speaking with a lot of women artists in the NFT space. When will we stop calling artists who are female women artists? It's been described by them as, of course, it's a bit aggravating, and also feeling like if you're in an exhibition that's majority men, that maybe you have to create an artwork that's more directly reflective of your gender or where you come from, just because you feel like you're filling a certain imbalance. Which I think can be, quite complex. So when will we kind of stop pigeonholing artists to women, non-binary, and, male, and everyone else? When does it completely just become about the concept? And I think for now, it's important to hit a certain quota point, but then when do we stop doing this? When will we kind of achieve a balanced goal and kind of move forward? I don't know what your thoughts are.
In an ideal world, we wouldn't have any need to differentiate between, female, male, and non-binary and binary. I mean, in an ideal world, we are not living in an ideal world, guys. So I do think actually we need to have some commitment, and the commitment has to be individual as well as organizational and institutional and team commitment. Because it starts from each of us. It's not just about, I'm a man, but I'm here actually to talk about this one, because it has to start from each of us, independent of your kind of birth gender and or choice of gender, really. So to me, I think in the foreseeable future, I do think we will still need to have this kind of attention and this consciousness. Because it's not going to change overnight. And the stats that you mentioned before, yeah, probably they're slightly different than, this was a stat from last year, right? Last summer. Yes. So a year ago, not 10 years ago. And I think we are more or less in the same sort of area here. So I think it will take some time. So that's why I think we still need to have this sort of a profound commitment and attention to it.
Absolutely. And I think, as we are here for the NFT London event, which is very kind of course, Web3 focused, and the landscape of Web 2, was a bit more plagued by systemic exclusion, the promising young and demographic of Web3, and the excitement in this community-driven environment where you've also got infrastructures such as DAOs and everything. It seems to have more of an ethos of equality. I think that we will achieve a balanced representation extremely quickly compared to the traditional art market, which is only now actively diversifying museums. So.
That was my thinking as well, and that's why actually I'm working in the Web3 and crypto art, and together with Auronda actually we launched this thing because it's such an expansion of the art world and the art practices, and this is so dynamic. I mean, curators, traditional art curators like me, that kind of a lot of them are kind of struggling to keep pace of it, because the whole idea actually about to produce an exhibition in 2 weeks' time is like, what? But actually, yes, you do, and it's very successful, and it kind of helps actually to actually advance the work of artists and the work of culture in general. So there is a long way in terms of institutional sort of work to do. I mean, Mostin is part of the Plus Day network of the main 50 modern and contemporary art venues in the UK. Of 50, 48 to be exact, maybe 5 are doing something with crypto art and NFT. And I know because we meet every 3 months and we constantly in chat with that. So there is a long way actually to do, but it's something that's why it has to be an individual responsibility also of the teams actually working in the different institutions.
Absolutely. So we're feeling optimistic then with the future being female, hopefully.
And that's what the statement, actually,
yes.
which is the title of this talk. We have actually 1 minute and a half. I was wondering if there is any question, of maybe Jonathan actually can moderate with the MC. I don't see him actually, but probably. Hey, here we go. Jonathan, do you have your take on it?
Putting the MC on the spot.
This is definitely one of, like, to me, the first thing that I got to say is one of the themes of NFT London is diversity. And one beautiful thing about Web3 is it enables us to be exactly who we want to be, regardless of how you are from the beginning or where you want to go next. And so I'm a big fan of the direction it's going. I've gone to many events previously, and we're definitely seeing a significant shift. And it's talks like these, it's us all coming together loud and proud of who we are and who we want to be. And I think one step forward, whether it's a huge leap or not, we all got to take those steps and do what we can to make a difference. So let's give them a round of applause, because it's people like these.
Thank you,
changing the
guys.
world.
Thank you.